Alright, what's going on guys? Today we're going to take a look at another World Championship winning deck in Magic the Gathering's history. And this time, it's a spicy one, because we'll be looking at Dragonstorm, the deck that won the championship in 2006. It just so happens that this video also doubles as a personality test, because if you think this deck is cool, I'm afraid you might be a sociopath. I mean, I know I hate to break it to you, but might be the case. I mean, it's fine. I actually think the deck is pretty cool, but it's the most degenerate, ridiculous, and nefarious pile of nonsense that has won the World Championship. So, Standard at the time was composed of the original Ravnica block, the Time Spiral block, and the 9th edition core set, as well as a bonus set, Cold Snap, which was a random extra set that was technically the third set to the Ice Age block that was made retroactively, and they ran it through Standard, so that's kinda cool. Anyway, the tournament would take place in Paris, France, and the deck would be piloted by Makihito Mihara, who I can only assume is a sadistic monster for playing this deck. Again, I'm kidding, it's kind of interesting, but definitely degenerate. So, Dragonstorm. I suppose we should start with the deck's namesake, Dragonstorm. This was the deck's win condition. So let's start with the mana cost. It costs 9 mana. 9 mana. That's a lot. The spell lets you search your library for a dragon card and put it directly into play. And yes, that's into play, not into your hand. And most importantly, it has Storm, meaning you get to copy it for each spell that you've cast before it. That's all fine and good, but the thing still costs 9 frickin' mana. So how did this deck win with Dragonstorm? Well, it played Lotus Bloom, Seething Song, and Rite of Flame. So Lotus Bloom has Suspend 3 for 0 mana, meaning that on turn 1, ideally, you would suspend it for 0, and 3 turns later you would cast it and have 3 extra mana. Also, important note there, you cast it so it will count towards your Storm count. Seething Song costs 5 mana and adds 5, and Rite of Flame costs 1 mana and adds 2, plus an extra 1 for each rite in your graveyard. So basically, you cast rituals, Seething Songs and whatnot, to reach 9 mana in a single turn, all while increasing your storm count so that you can cast Dragonstorm, usually on turn 3 actually, and then you search your library for a whole bunch of dragons to put directly into play. It's kind of ridiculous, right? But, oh no, it gets worse. It gets so much worse, or better, depending on your perspective. You see, you might be thinking that this deck got to search for a bunch of dragons, flood the board with big, giant, fire-breathing monsters, and then end the game by attacking the opponent with them. That's actually incorrect. You see, it just so happens that in this standard environment, there was a dragon called Bogardan Hellkite. It's a 5/5 flying dragon with flash, but most importantly, when it enters the battlefield, it deals 5 damage divided as you choose. Do you see what's going on here? Do you see it? The idea was to cast Dragonstorm with a storm count of 4, which it did very easily because the ritual spells both ramped it up into big mana and also increased the storm count. Then it tutored up 4 Hellkites and domed the opponent for 20 damage on the spot. Yep, that's it. That's the deck. That's what it did. Frequently on turn 3. Dragonstorm, 4 Hellkites, 20 damage to the face, game over. Super fun. Super fun. Yep. So anyway, just in case you do happen to draw the Hellkites, because you only have 4 of them, you could draw them. The deck also had Hunted Dragons as a backup plan. Unfortunately, the Hunted Dragons don't kill your opponent immediately, so you actually have to attack with them to win the game. But they do have 6 power, flying, and haste, so you can still kill them on that turn. You just had to attack. I know you had to attack, right? But it gets even worse, guys, because the worst case scenario is you draw a Hellkite or 2 and your opponent had flyers to block with. I mean, then you would have to get a couple of these and use the Hellkite damage to clear the way of blockers so you could kill the opponent over a couple turns. I mean, that's just so much work, am I right? I mean, you'd have to interact with your opponent's board. I mean, yuck. But hey, sometimes you gotta get your hands dirty, right? Anyway, The rest of the deck was basically designed to make the combo more consistent or to protect it. It played Telling Time and Sleight of Hand to ensure that it got its pieces. Both of these just let you look at the top cards of your library and cherry pick the stuff you want and toss the stuff that you don't. It also played Remand and Giga Drowse, which allowed you to stall for time. Remand is a counterspell that not only allows you to stall for a turn, but also digs you deeper into your deck. And Giga Drowse can tap your opponent's board on their turn, so you can push the game a little bit later, and it could also be used to tap down blockers with flying if necessary. And that's it. That's it. That's literally it. That's the entire deck. That's all it did. Mana ramp, Dragon Storm, dragons, filter cards, and a tiny bit of control. And literally that's it. That's the deck. It did one thing and one thing only. And that won the World Championship. So, moving on to the mana base, the deck played Calciform Pools and Dreadship Reef, which basically allow you to build up a bunch of mana and then unleash it all at once. It also played Shivan Reefs and Steam Vents as dual lands, the Reefs being part of the Pain land cycle and the Steam Vents being part of the Shock land cycle. And then it just played a pile of basics to round out the deck. And then taking a super quick look at the sideboard, as always we won't go super in depth here as that requires an understanding of the entire metagame, but the deck played extra copies of Calciform Pools and Dreadship Reef. It had Pyroclasm to wipe the board of small creatures and Ignorant Bliss to protect your combo against hand disruption spells. It allows you to exile your hand and then you get it back at end of turn, so yeah, use it in response to a hand disruption spell, and you don't have to worry about your opponent picking apart your combo. It also played Repeal to bounce non-land permanents and Trick Bind, which can counter activated abilities. And then finally it had Teferi, which basically turns off anything the opponent might want to play at instant speed, such as counter spells or creature removal. And that's it. That is Dragon Storm. Pretty simple and definitely completely ridiculous. Just ritual yourself into a Dragon Storm and dome your opponent for 20 on the spot. It seems pretty janky, it seems terribly unpleasant to play against, but you know, there it is. So you can rate yourself. It's a 1-to-1 ratio based on how much you like this deck. That's how much of a sadistic psychopath you are. So rate this deck 0 out of 10, and there you go. Personality test completed. I personally give it like a 7. Yeah, maybe an 8. Anyway, yeah, that's the deck, guys. That's the deck that won the World Championship in 2006. Now, you are a little bit more familiar with Magic the Gathering's history and another classic deck from the early days of the game. If you like this video and you want to see more like it, I have a playlist dedicated to these World Championship decks, and you can find a link to that in the description below. Also be sure to subscribe as there will surely be more to come in the future. But in the meantime, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.